The letter arrived on a quiet Monday morning. It looked old, faded, and covered with dust, as if it had been forgotten for years. Ryan smiled, thinking it was another advertisement, but the moment he looked at the sender's name, his heart stopped. The letter had been written by his father, the same father who had died 20 years earlier. Welcome back to Speak Without Fear. Some letters carry memories. Some carry hope. But today's letter carried something that changed one man's life forever. Sit back, relax, and improve your English by listening to today's original story. Ryan was 32 years old and lived alone in a quiet apartment in the city. His life looked successful to everyone around him. He had a good job, a nice car, and enough money to live comfortably. But behind his smile, Ryan carried a sadness that nobody knew about. His father had died in a car accident when Ryan was only 12 years old. Since that day, he had learned to hide his emotions and never speak about the pain he still carried. One rainy Monday morning, Ryan opened his apartment door and noticed an old envelope lying on the floor. It looked different from the other mail. The paper had turned yellow with age, and his name was written carefully by hand. There was no return address, no stamp from a modern post office, and no explanation. Curious, Ryan picked it up and walked inside. As he slowly opened the envelope, a folded piece of paper slipped onto the table. At the bottom of the page was a date, June 18, 2006. Ryan's hands began to shake. That was exactly 20 years ago. He turned to the last page and saw a signature he never expected to see again. Dad. For a long moment, Ryan simply stared at the paper. His father had died before this letter could ever be delivered. With trembling hands, he began to read. Dear Ryan, if you're reading this letter, then life has continued without me. I hoped I would be there to watch you grow, teach you how to drive, celebrate your graduation, and one day see the man you would become. But life doesn't always give us the future we imagine. Tears slowly filled Ryan's eyes. He continued reading. There will be moments when you feel completely alone. Don't hide your pain. The strongest people are not those who never cry. They are the ones who keep moving forward even after they do. Ryan stopped reading for a moment. Those words described his life perfectly. For 20 years, he had hidden every emotion, believing that showing sadness meant showing weakness. He took a deep breath and continued. Don't spend your entire life chasing money. One day, you'll realize that time with the people you love is worth far more than any salary. Ryan looked around his silent apartment. He suddenly realized he hadn't visited his mother in almost 8 months. Every weekend he promised himself he would visit. Every weekend work became another excuse. His father had written those words 20 years ago, yet they felt written for today. As Ryan reached the end of the letter, something unexpected fell from inside the envelope. It was a second sheet of paper. This one contained only a single sentence. If this letter reaches you, someone has kept a promise for 20 years. Ryan frowned. What promise? Who had protected this letter all these years? The next morning, Ryan took the envelope to the address written on the back. It belonged to a small house on the edge of town. An elderly woman opened the door. When she saw the envelope in Ryan's hands, tears immediately filled her eyes. I've been waiting for this day, she whispered. Ryan looked at her in confusion. The woman invited him inside. She explained that she had been his father's closest friend since childhood. A few weeks before the accident, Ryan's father had visited her and handed her the letter. He smiled and said, "If anything happens to me, Promise you'll give this to Ryan on his 32nd birthday. I don't want him to read it as a child. I want him to read it when life becomes difficult. The woman had kept that promise for 20 years. Every year, she checked Ryan's birthday on an old calendar hanging in her kitchen. She protected the letter like it was part of her own family. Ryan couldn't hold back his tears. He realized this wasn't just a letter. It was his father's final conversation with him. Before Ryan left, the elderly woman handed him one last item. It was an old photograph. In the picture, his father was smiling while holding 12-year-old Ryan on his shoulders. On the back of the photograph were 5 handwritten words. "I'm always proud of you." Ryan stood silently, staring at those words. For years, he had searched for approval from bosses, friends, and strangers. The only approval he had ever truly needed had been waiting inside an old envelope all along. That evening, Ryan drove straight to his mother's house. When she opened the door, he hugged her without saying a single word. For the first time in 20 years, he didn't feel alone anymore. Some people leave behind money. Some leave behind houses. But the greatest gift anyone can leave behind is love that never disappears. A single letter cannot bring someone back. But sometimes, it can remind us that they never truly left our hearts. Thank you for listening. Practice your English by listening to one story every day. If you enjoy original English stories, subscribe to Speak Without Fear and join us again for the next unforgettable story.